Thank you, Graham. As Graham introduced, my name is Beth Strachan, and I am with EA Engineer of Science and Technology. But for this project, I'm actually serving as the project manager for Prince George's County. We're going to be talking about completing the storm drain inventory using ArcGIS Online and Arc Pro. Brief agenda, we're going to talk about the need of the county. Then we did the transformation, data validation, and the data quality. So with that, Prince George's County has always had a storm drain inventory. At the beginning of this project, it was about 73,000 structures, but there was really minimum attribution. The data set wasn't connected, and we have actually identified a shift at some point in that data set. So the county had a wish to keep the existing information because we find that there's value in that data set, but then transform that existing data into the geometric network, and then do the field verification effort to identify the invert in, the invert out, the condition of the network, and finally create that data set that is MS4, MDE, and PDF compliant. So with that, to talk about that transformation, I'm going to actually turn it over to Andrew with KCI.
Thanks, Beth. So in turn, with the development of this new schema, we configured it to be a field forward schema where we created simple attributes with simplified relationships that can be handled in collector. To load the data from multiple data sources, we developed an ETL tool that we wrote and executed in Python. That general process was extracting the source data from multiple data sources provided by the county, transform that to match this new PG NPDES schema, perform domain matching coming from a database that did not have domains into a database that does have domains. That was a necessary feat. We generated or loaded related table records that existed, and for ones that did not, we created a blank default record for all of those features. We then calculated the upstream and downstream global IDs on the conveyances and the structures to generate that geometric network, and then ultimately loaded that data into this new PG and PDS schema.
Thank you, Andrew. So now that we have created that data set, we really need to validate that data. So we have focused on specific watersheds in the county to do our field verification effort. The team has been out there actually field verifying since January 2020, and they're averaging about 120 structures a day. We've put in about 5,000 field hours, and our structure count has gone up from 73,000 to about 85,000. So we've included about 12,000 structures. So while the team's out there doing that field validation, we really wanted to make sure that their effort in collecting that information had quality behind it. And so to help with that quality, I'm going to turn it back over to Andrew for him to explain some of the processes they put in place.
Thanks, Beth. So the entire setup here with Postgres server, portal, and ArcGIS server instances and the data store is sitting on a Microsoft Azure virtual machine that is accessible from outside of any office directly through the field via collector, which at this point everyone is well aware of. We use that primarily to collect that field data and ultimately create new features if necessary, update existing records, including attribution and those related records, and a condition assessment. We read data to verify that existing data is in fact correct, all the attributes are up to date, and the related tables are populated, and then finally delete records or features if need be. We also utilize the ability for collector to take images, photos, and use other attachment file types if need be. And then finally, we utilize collector's ability to handle those relationship classes between our conveyances and our structures, and then our attribute tables that you see on the right-hand side in the screenshot. And then we can utilize our versioning structure through feature services to maintain the disconnect between our two field teams and ultimately reconcile that data up to default. For data validation or data quality and verification, we developed a SOI, a server object interface that intercepts REST calls that come from collector. So as the data is being submitted from a tablet, from collector, it's intercepted, and these 8 processes that are listed are acting against that request. So we're calculating a top of grade value from the MD-IMAP DEM service. We're calculating inverts, so we're doing simple math between those inverts and measurements that we're collecting in the field. We're enforcing snapping in a different way than Collector currently does. We're enforcing the global IDs on our conveyances and ensuring that they match up with the feature that the conveyance ends or starts on. And then we're maintaining those relationships, those global IDs, through that same process when the feature is relocated or deleted. Then for verification, we developed 63 business rules, so to speak, that we run against the data in a combination of SQL and Python to return QC comments that are given back to our field crews and are updated in the office. And then transitioning from that SQL and Python role, we've been working on developing a custom ArcGIS Pro add-in, specifically using the Pro SDK.NET version. It's both portable and robust, meaning that it can be installed on any machine that has ArcGIS Pro, and it's robust because we can customize it to pretty much do any function that ArcGIS Pro will allow us to code. It allows us to replicate the SOI functions, so both the calculations and the geometric network maintenance. We can streamline those QA/QC processes, and we've built in exceptions for those rules. It allows us to streamline those post-field editing processes for snapping and maintaining those geometric networks, or maintaining the geometric network. And then finally, that we can use our existing web maps and feature services, so we're not accessing the database directly or replicating a lot of data and storing it on our portal instance.
So with that concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself or Andrew, and please visit KCI's virtual booth and EA's virtual booth for a recording of this presentation.